your fashion, your safety fashion. Ask one of our associates where you can find functional fashion that will protect you while you're at home working on your next project. Thank you, and have a Lowe's safe day.
Listen, this right here, capitalism is out of control.
You want to pay your bills? You want to pay rent? You want to get Starbucks? You better work, bitch. You want to get groceries? You want to feed your cats? You want to watch Netflix? You better work.
I don't know if any of you have seen this video that I have screenshotted behind me, but it's like 7 great side hustle ideas to make extra cash. And I was like, word? Sign me up, bro. What you got for me? I kid you not. These guys really told me to cancel my car insurance.
Like many young adults, I used to think that my goal in life was to be happy and healthy. That is until I discovered capitalism. Now, my only goal is to constantly prove my worth to other people. With capitalism, my self-worth is directly tied to my productivity, and so I have transcended from just a human being to a human doing. Amazing. Capitalism is not just an economic and political system anymore. It's also a lifestyle. Get on with it. Hashtag internalize capitalism. Capitalism is so hot that I just can't fight this feeling that no matter what I do, it's just never gonna be enough. If you start subscribing to capitalism today, you can also get consumerism, hustle culture, hyper-individualistic culture, and if you're lucky, feeling dead inside. And don't forget, Jorge exploitation. Escándalo. Unfortunately, capitalism is not free 99, but you know what is? The illusion of choice. So what are you waiting for? Never rest without feeling guilty ever again, and start subscribing to capitalism today. Today!
So what's like a corporation? It's like an organization that makes stuff or does stuff that makes your life easier or brings value, in theory. How does it do that? Take a food company, for instance. I don't know how to grow potatoes. They do. I give them money, they give me potatoes. How'd you get your money? My job. So an economy is just trading unpleasant tasks? No. What do you mean? A company pays people for the unpleasant task of growing potatoes. You're giving them money for their potatoes, but you had to suffer for your money. So you're just trading sufferings. Well, suffering's a dramatic word for work. Well, do you love your job? Not exactly. When you're doing your job, are there other things you'd rather be doing? Yeah. I'm sure there's things those potato farmers would rather be doing. Sure. So it is suffering. Sure. So it's like a suffering circle of life. I hate this. You want to trade?
Of course, people need a profit incentive to do any work. Name one time somebody has done a job without getting paid. And don't say Wikipedia or open source software, community gardens, or volunteering or piracy or protesting. Don't cite any UBI studies or name any hobbies. Don't talk to me about jobs like teachers or librarians where the pay is super low, but people do it out of the intrinsic value they get from serving their community. Exactly, you can't name any. Checkmate, socialists.
Ha! I don't know where you live, but this is America and I'm poor. I can't pay for a lawyer to enforce laws. It doesn't matter what the law says. There's no justice for the impoverished American.
You and I do not live in a capitalistic society. Capitalism died in 2008 and was confirmed dead in 2020. You and I are now living past late-stage capitalism in techno-feudalism. Also called neo-feudalism, this is characterized by unequal rights between the rich and the poor and the dominant parts of society, i.e. the elite and the rich, having an extreme amount of wealth and power. Since 2008, since the housing crisis, there's been an insane increase in income inequality in America. We like to talk about the 1%. I make over 6 figures. Am I in the 1%? Not even close. The top 1% in the world has 43% of the global wealth. It's actually worse than that. The top 0.1% of the population has 25% of the global wealth of the world. And the bottom 50% of the world has 1%. For it to be feudalism, there has to be the lords and the elite, right? Can you think of anyone? Bezos, Musk, Bill Gates, maybe? When the wealth is concentrated into the hands of the few, they will use that power and influence to continue to rig the system to their advantage. They're all effectively just serfs. Eat the rich, y'all.
Ukraine now has access to the fastest, most robust satellite internet system ever.
Elon Musk moved his satellite system over Ukraine, and now Ukraine can't lose internet access, is the story. You know, well, this is not a bad thing to do. The thing that was done here, I don't necessarily disagree with. I don't disagree with the fact that it was done. But is a sign of the times. At some point, the veil will be lifted, and it will be made very clear to even people who are choosing not to pay attention that the top 1% billionaires are their own nation states. Once you start being able to provide meaningful tactical advantages to nations in the middle of a war, you have entered the global stage. Publicly, you've entered the global stage. And the fact that this is a thing that can be done is fucking scary. Do I need to explain why it's scary? Does anybody who watched me not think that this is fucking terrifying? Billionaires don't have oversight. I mean, say what you will about NATO. Billionaires cannot independently be part of NATO. They can't independently be part of the UN. They are not governed by a global alliance of any kind. And yet, they can do shit like this. Like, yeah, no, I'm great. I'm super happy that Ukraine isn't going to lose internet access. I think it's absolutely necessary for them to have internet. Don't know enough about what the fuck is happening to really speak on what is happening. But this shit is wild. I don't even know what to say about it anymore.
I listened to a podcast this morning that was postulating as to why the U.S. population rate is declining. I personally had an out-of-body experience listening to these reporters try to Sherlock Holmes their way into figuring out why people wouldn't be having kids.
You're telling me that people are graduating from schools burdened by student debt that they will literally never be able to pay off because they can't find jobs that compensate them fairly for their labor or have predictable schedules or provide any sort of parental or sick leave, let alone paid versions of those things. And the United States has zero safety nets for helping people pay for skyrocketing childcare costs, the medical bills associated with having a child, and we are entering a climate crisis that no one is doing anything about and probably will not for several years. And you don't want to have a cute little baby?
Who's a person from history everyone should know about?
Claire Patterson.
Who's Claire Patterson?
Claire Patterson was a geochemist in the 1950s. He figured out that the use of lead in gasoline and food packaging was drastically accelerating the amount of lead in the atmosphere and making millions of people sick.
Why don't more people know about him?
His research was initially funded by the oil and gas industry, but they would eventually revoke their funding and smear his reputation in the scientific community.
Well, that's awful.
Even though he lost his funding, he went on to spearhead the movement to reduce the use of lead in gasoline and food packaging.
Did you say reduce?
Yeah, his research helped implement lead reduction in the Clean Air Act of 1970, but there was so much corporate lobbying by the lead and gas industries that the US didn't ban leaded gasoline in cars until 1996.
They knew about it for 25 years?
Claire Patterson is a hero, but his story is also a cautionary tale about the coordination and scale at which corporations are willing to go to obscure the truth about products and industries that harm the public at large.
Well, what was there besides lead?
Agent Orange, Teflon, cigarettes, CFCs, Roundup, hexavalent chromium, and climate change, to name a few.
Am I gonna cry if I look up that whole list?
Probably.
Okay.
So M. Blastroyce wants me to ruin schools, specifically American schools. I can do it, M. Blastroyce, but it's gonna be rough. If a visitor from another planet, or say Europe, came to America, there are two things they would think are really weird. Number one, the way we pay for healthcare. That's a different video. But number two, the fact that we fund public schools via property taxes. What that means is that the amount of money your school gets isn't based on need or equality, it's based on the real estate prices in your neighborhood. So if you live in this neighborhood, your school has resources up the ass. But if you live in this neighborhood, sorry, your teacher's gotta use her personal debit card to buy pencils. This means that school districts in the same state can have vastly different funding. This rich Arizona district gets to spend $25,000 per student per year, while this poorer neighborhood, one county over, is only able to spend $6,000 a student. So if you're wondering why we have so much income inequality in America, consider this. We know from social science that getting a good education is the most important factor in increasing your future income, yet we built an education system that gives the best education to the richest people who need the help the least. What?
Almost almost all your taxes go to military installations on foreign bases, 800 of them, but no other country has a military base in America, cause it's a fear tactic, it's a fear tactic. We are a fascist police state. Fascist police state, wasting your money. It could go to education or making millions of jobs, upgrading our energy grid. But nope, no, 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 no. We are a fascist police state. Fascist police.